Hi guys, it's me. Sorry, that was an awkward start to this video. I always get weird when I'm like waiting for the little numbers to like show that it's recording or not recording. Anyways, I am here to talk about something that a few of you have asked about. I did write a very long and lengthy blog post about, so I won't go into it too much. If you want to see the blog post, I'll link it underneath here. But a few of you requested that I make a video to tag along with it as well, so I love talking, so of course I was willing to do that. I'm here to talk about baby breastfeeding and weaning. I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered because I kind of hate talking about any type of weaning or training, just because I always, you always get flack when you give your opinions or your views or you tell somebody about what you're doing because, as a mother, you're never doing something right according to another mother. You're always doing something wrong or not as good, or, there's a better way to do it or a healthier way to do it or blah, 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 blah. So I'm a little bit nervous right now, but it's not going to stop me, of course, from talking or telling you guys what we did and what we are currently doing. If you're anywhere like me and our family, we have some pretty bad sleepers in the family. Ava is extremely she's never been a problem ever. I think the first time I've ever had an issue with her in general was when last year I told you guys when we were having issues in those videos. That was her sassiness. It had nothing to do with just her. It was just, the age she was at. But when it came to her being a baby, she was so easy. And I don't know if it was because I was stricter back then or because she had to be because she was, shared parenting and had to go back and forth, or if it was because she was bottle fed. I don't really know why. I'd like to think it's because I was a lot stricter with schedules and everything because I didn't have another person. I was a single mom, so I didn't really have another person to have to discuss my decisions with or how I was doing stuff with. But she's just always been a good eater, a good sleeper, and still is. Wyatt, on the other hand, was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. He was breastfed. I had John there, who was it was his first baby, his first boy. I've talked about this before. We just had issues raising him together when it came to sleeping because he would cry and John would run, and I would say no, but John would go. So I should write like Dr. Seuss books. So that was difficult. So when it came to Kaya, I love breastfeeding her. You guys know that. I am getting somewhere with all of this banter. I love breastfeeding her. I don't know. It's just a wonderful thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with bottle feeding, but definitely, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have tried harder with Ava. I breastfed her for a month, and then it just didn't work. She was premature. She had a weak suck. It just was a difficult situation. I started working again after a month, and then I was working 3 jobs, and it just wasn't realistic for us. But I really enjoyed nursing Kaya. Like, it's been a really good relationship that we've had. And like I said in my blog, like, I call it a breastfeeding relationship because it's a give and take. I give her nutrition and cuddles, and she gives me wonderful bigger boobs and a sense of security. And I say security because there's so many things that are just crappy in the world and unknown, but when you hold a baby and you nurse them, it's like, there's something good there. There's something that is just really special that you have. So it's a relationship for us. But sadly, it's become a very unhealthy relationship. And when I say that, it's because she's become very dependent, and it's not necessarily on me. It's on my boobs. And when I say that, it's because when I walk into a room, or not, I shouldn't say that as in present tense, when I would walk into a room, even if I'd only been gone for like an hour, a half an hour, or even if I was just upstairs and then I came downstairs, she would just immediately start screaming bloody murder, point to me, and just like scream until I came and picked her up. And then she would claw at my shirt and try to pull my shirt up and then get into a nursing position to nurse her. She would do it in public, she would do it at our home, she would do it just all the time, anytime. I started noticing that she started doing it a lot after either being told no when she would be like trying to like put her fingers in a socket, or we don't have sockets that she could put them in, but you know what I mean, like if she would do something that she wasn't allowed to do and we'd say no, she would immediately want to nurse. Or if Wyatt would steal a toy from her, or just any reason at all, she would get upset and then immediately expect to be nursed and scream until I did so. Probably like every hour of the day I would find her at my feet pulling at my leg to get like pick her up, and then immediately after I pick her up she'd claw at my shirt. And I was realizing more and more that it was just not normal. She would rather nurse than eat, and this was even at 12 months she was still doing this, and it just seemed really weird. For a while I played along with it just because I thought, okay, she's going through a growth spurt, or okay, it's because I'm now babysitting my niece, so she's being a little bit like needy because there's a younger baby here, you know, every once in a while. Or I would just come up with excuses because I didn't want to think, okay, there's something wrong and I should like cut it out completely. So I let it go, and then she started wanting to nurse like every 3 hours at night. And I don't know about you guys, but after a year, you just kind of figure you should be sleeping on your own like through the night. And Kaya actually had been at like 8 or 9 months been sleeping through the night. So for me and John, it was even more frustrating because we were used to finally sleeping again, and then she did that. I thought it was because she was teething, so I played along once again and would wake up with her, or John would wake up and bring her to me and I would nurse her, and then we'd put her back in her crib, and we'd do that 2 or 3 times a night. And then after about a month and a half, I just was like, okay, this is terrible. Like, she would wake up and the only way she would go back to sleep was if I would nurse her. And I knew it was feeling vaguely familiar like Wyatt, where he would wake up every 3 hours and need to be cuddled back to sleep or rocked back to sleep, which at 3 years old, we're just now getting him into a good sleep schedule, and he's finally sleeping through the night. And let me tell you, it's easier to sleep train a baby than it is an older kid. Older kids can get out of their bed, they can bang on the door, they can break closet doors, they can write on the walls, they can scream way louder. I mean, they're pretty disruptive. So seeing that Kaya's sleep schedule was all of a sudden becoming really funky and that she was becoming dependent on me nursing her to get back to sleep, I realized that we were going down a very dangerous path again with her. As you guys know, I'm a firm believer in the cry it out method. I don't care who doesn't believe in it. I don't care who thinks that I'm damaging my children, but I have a pretty well-rounded, very smart straight-A student who could tell you otherwise. She goes to bed when we tell her to. She sleeps through the night. She's never had an issue. She's healthy. She's beautiful. She's smart. You know, Ava is great at sleeping, and that's the method I use with her. Wyatt, I did in the beginning, and then one bad night of him teething, and then John swooped in, and that's just been ruined. We finally started the cry it out method with him again, and he's finally on track again. So before you try to say, okay, I'm doing something damaging to my kids, know that I don't care, because I know that every child is different. I know my kids better than anybody else in the world. So this is what works for them. I don't think I would suggest cry it out method to anybody or everybody, but this is just what works for us, and this is what works for our children. So I'm going to say that. With Kaya, we couldn't really let her cry it out. Like, we felt like we couldn't because she shares a room with Ava, and during the school week, she needs her sleep. So when she would wake up, we would hear her, and John would immediately go run and get her, and then I would nurse her just so she wouldn't wake up Ava. And it became just this habit, and after a month and a half of it, I was getting so irritated and thinking, why is she doing this? Like, she used to sleep through the night. It's past teething. It's past a growth spurt. Like, I don't, and I realized she was just doing it because she knew that if she cried, we would go and get her because we didn't want our sister to wake up. So at the 12-month appointment with our doctor, I discussed all my concerns with her because she asked, are you still nursing? And I want to say first off that me and my pediatrician have known each other since Ava was a baby. So that's almost, 9 years? So I trust her completely. Me and her have the same views on things, cloth diapering, breastfeeding, vaccinations, everything. We just completely agree on everything. And I trust her 100%. And I think that if you are constantly doubting your doctor, whether it be your own or your child's, then you need to find a new doctor because you need to trust your doctor. So I trust her completely. And she has known me forever since I was a teenager, and she has known my children since I was a teenager and since they were babies. So when I told her my concerns and everything that was going on, oh, did I forget to mention that Kaya doesn't even say mama? She won't even attempt to. She says dada and has been saying it for months. But when I'm not in the room, she will sign milk, saying that she wants me. And then the second she gets in the room, she just points at me and starts screaming till I nurse her. So that's frustrating. So I told the doctor all of my concerns, and she 100% agreed. She said that it sounded like Kaya had developed an unhealthy dependency on nursing. And she said that, you know, yes, nursing is supposed to be for comfort and soothing, but at a certain point, kids need to start learning how to deal with their emotional stressors or frustrations in a different way. And I completely agree. You know, if somebody steals your toy, your first reaction shouldn't be, I need to go suck on my mom's boob. Like, that's not normal. So she agreed that that was going on. And she said, you know, you're at a year. Have you considered weaning her? And I had considered weaning her because at 11 months we were going through the issue of, because she had 6 teeth at that point and she was grating her teeth over my nipples and it was really painful. So we had considered, you know, weaning at 12 months. But that problem kind of resolved itself, and so I just didn't want to stop. And she, you know, went on to make some more points, because she would say something, then I would say something like positive about nursing, and then she would say, well this, well that. So we went kind of back and forth until I realized that what my doctor was saying made a lot of sense. You know, she said that Kaya obviously was using it as an unhealthy dependency. She wasn't needing it for nutrition, because she wouldn't do it to, like, actually eat. She was having a few sucks and then delatching. So she wasn't using it for nutritional purposes, but she was using it for more of an emotional purpose, which I'm all for, just not, like I said again, if your feelings are hurt, you need to find another way to, like, fix those feelings other than being on somebody's boob. So she suggested that I wean completely, because, especially during the nighttime, because she said that the longer I wait, she even stated, like, she said, I would never say this to any other mother, but because I've known you for so long and I know how you are and how your kids are, you know, I'm gonna tell you this. She said I would just wean completely, especially at nighttime, because the older the child gets, the more difficult it will be. And again, I knew that firsthand because of my son Wyatt. We're still dealing with the same issues when he was a baby at the age of 3. So she said that the older, you know, if I wait till 15 or 18 months, that's at the age that kids can start crawling out of their cribs. And that's going to be a lot harder to deter her from nursing throughout the night if she's able to physically get out of her crib and come to me, you know, or bang at the door, or possibly hurt herself because she's so desperate to get out of her crib to get to my breast. So that made 100% sense to me. Like, I had never thought about that before. It was totally true. And you know, and I have very stubborn children, and so that's something that they would do. So John and I really, really took that to heart. As you guys know, I went to Chicago for my birthday weekend, and she said, our appointment was the Monday before I left, and she said, you know, that's the perfect time to wean her. You're going to be gone, out of sight. Your husband will be home with the kids. Like, that's a good time to wean her. So the following week, John and I just kind of sat down and had conversations every once in a while. You know, we talked about the benefits, or then, you know, or, you know, where we kind of were at both, you know, mentally, because it was going to take both of our parts to get this done. I flat out told him that it sounded like a great idea. The thought of being kind of free of needing to be around all the time was really just, I mean, it sounded amazing. And the thought of being able to sleep again sounded amazing, because I have not slept in like 10 years, guys. I have been a mom for the past 10 years almost, or pregnant, and I worked 3 jobs with Ava, one of them bartending. Like, I just have not slept in a long time. So I was desperate. John agreed, but he ultimately said it was my decision because it was my body and is really a personal thing. But he said that whatever I decided, he'd be on board for. So even though my doctor wanted us to completely wean, and I completely trust her, I was not ready to give up breastfeeding completely. I did agree that Kaya had built a very unhealthy relationship with nursing, and I wanted to cut that out, and same with nighttime, but I was not willing or ready to give it up completely, especially right before cold and flu season, because come on, let's face it, breastfeeding is great for the immune system, and our kids got so sick last winter and were in the emergency room, and Kaya came down with RSV, like, it just seemed like a silly time to stop completely. So, and she even said, like, if you decide not to wean, I'm not going to be mad. This is my advice to you. So John and I we considered our options, and basically what we came down to was that I was going to set boundaries, clear boundaries with Kaya during the day, and not nurse her at all at day. I would nurse her in the morning, and I would nurse her at night, and that would be it. And then any other time she would have food, lactate milk, or water. I say lactate milk because we don't drink lactate in our house because it upsets all of our tummies, and I don't think it's really that great for you. But anyways, so that's what we decided to do. So we started, I think the weekend after I started like on Wednesday before I left, because I didn't want Kaya to have like the shell shock of all of a sudden I was gone and she would have to like not have me around anymore. So we would wake up in the morning and I nursed her, and then John would take her down for breakfast. That was kind of that. She was fine throughout the morning. And then she started getting upset during the day. She would, something would happen where she would be emotionally upset and she would come to me and start screaming. So instead of nursing her like I would normally do, since I knew she was physically fine, I would pick her up and hold her, try to soothe her down, so that she knew that I loved her still and that I wanted to comfort her, but that the breast was not going to be part of that. And then I would either offer her water, lactate milk, or a healthy snack. I put the schedule of her full day on my blog post. Again, I'll link that underneath here. But that was basically that. It was very difficult. I don't think she understood that I wasn't going to give her the breast, but I think she was pretty pissed at me because she was like, well, why not? They're there. But I needed to stick to it because so many times I was just like, all right, fine, here. And that wasn't helping her and it wasn't helping us. So I really, really, really disciplined myself, and that's how it was on Wednesday. Is if she was upset, I would comfort her, and then I would offer her something else or try to distract her with something else. After the first day, it went pretty okay. The second day was even better. By the third day, she did not even ask to nurse once. It was just great. For the nap time that she takes naps at like noon. I made sure to feed her lunch right before nap, like a really full lunch at like 11 I would start, and then she'd be finished around 11:30, and then I'd start her for her nap. And on a full tummy, she would sleep really, really well. And at first she would cry a little bit because she wanted to nurse first, but then by the third day again, she was just going down for her nap perfectly fine, or only crying for literally a minute. Like literally, it was just like a minute. So that gave me a lot of hope and faith that this was working. For the nighttime feedings, that didn't start until Monday, after I returned. The first night I was away, John said that she slept through the night, was perfectly fine. The second day, he said that she woke up once and just screamed for a long time, and he had to basically just like play with her down in the basement and then put her to bed like 2 hours later. So I didn't really know what to expect when I came back on Monday. I had to hold to the fact that I was setting boundaries with her. Like I was very tempted to just nurse her all day because I was like, oh, she's missing me. But that wasn't going to help her. Again, it would just probably confuse her, and that's not very nice either. So Monday we started the nighttime weaning as well. We kept going with that, and I told John that I really needed his help. And it was helpful that he was at the pediatrician's office for our 12-month checkup, because he was there to hear exactly what our doctor had to say. And she basically said, like, if you're going to do this, you're going to need to be a huge part of this. It's going to be your turn to, step it up and take care of the baby, because Kelly can't have anything to do with her at nighttime, or it's just going to be confusing to the baby because she's going to see and smell her and hear her and think, why isn't she nursing? Like, it was just going to be salt into an open wound. So you're going to have to take her. So having somebody, especially a professional, I'm like spitting at you guys, sorry, tell John that was very helpful, because he was already on board. He knew how important it was, and he knew it wasn't just me trying to say, like, you need to do this. Like, he knew that it was an actual, like, important thing. So we sat down and we made a plan again on Monday of, okay, so I will nurse her at night, and then after you give her a snack, and then I'll put her down, make sure she's fully awake, because I didn't want her to be dependent on nursing again before bedtime. And then if she wakes up at night, you will go and get her and then calm her down, and no matter what, you're not going to bring her to me. So 3 a.m. rolled around, midnight rolled around, she's screaming, and we waited a few minutes to see if she would go back to sleep, but she wouldn't. So John went in, picked her up, didn't help, she got mad. John took her downstairs, gave her some water, and she kind of settled down, and when she settled down, John put her back, and then she would cry for a few minutes and then fall asleep. 3 a.m. rolls around, same thing. John goes downstairs, does the same ordeal, comes back up, goes to bed. 6 a.m. rolls around, same thing. 7 a.m. rolls around, finally she comes to me, and then I nurse her, and then we start the day. And then the schedule continues throughout the day. The next night, she only woke up twice. and we went through the same thing, and she was pissed and she wanted me, but John stuck to it and took her downstairs and did all of that stuff until she went back to bed. Third night rolls around and she didn't wake up at all. She didn't wake up at all. And I don't know if it's because she finally found a way to soothe herself back to sleep, or if she realized, okay, crap, I'm not going to get any milk, so I might as well not even wake up or bother anybody. But it worked. She started sleeping through the night. We also made sure that she had a very, very full snack at night, you know, so that she wasn't depending on just my breast milk to keep her through the night. We fed her oatmeal and Greek yogurt, and that really just filled her up, and she slept better, and she slept through the night. So she, for the past week, has been going to bed at 8 p.m. and has been waking up at 7:45/8 a.m. and it has been amazing. And she doesn't scream anymore, and if she does scream for a little bit, she literally screams for like 1 or 2 minutes and then falls back asleep and doesn't even wake Ava up. So I will have to say, for weaning at night, it's just going to take time, patience, and a lot of help from your partner, because that's just how it's going to go. Like, it sucks for the time, and I'm not saying your kid or anybody else's kid is going to only take 3 days or 2 days for this to happen, but with any type of training, whether it be a baby or even yourself, like disciplining, you know, your spending habits or what you eat or whatever, it takes time. It really takes time to build a good habit. It's easier to break a good habit than build it. So for weaning, it's the same thing. Throughout the day, I had to stick to it. I had to say, no, Kelly, don't give her your boob, even though I really want to do just to make her happy. You know, and at nighttime, John had to say, okay, no, I'm not going to take her to her mother, because then it's just going to mess up everything. And that discipline really forced Kaya to try to figure out other ways to soothe herself or to make her happy. And now she has a perfect daytime schedule. She has a great nighttime schedule, and then she sleeps through the night. And it has been amazing. I can't even begin to tell you how to have our kids in bed by 8 o'clock. Yes, like, it ruins kind of our week, like we can't go out and stuff, but honestly, we're parents now. We don't need to do that. To have them in bed and asleep by 8 p.m. has opened so much for me and John. Like, we can have conversations at night without kids running around. We can get stuff done without having to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's just been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. And I've been feeling healthier and better, you know, and it's just great. So I was able, even though I didn't completely wean like my pediatrician suggested, I was able to solve 2 of my biggest issues, which was sleeping through the night and not being able to get stuff done during the day, or feeling like I couldn't ever leave her during the day. My boobs have shrunk considerably, and that's okay. But it's just been great. I still get to nurse her in the morning, and I get to nurse her at night, and if I'm not around, I know that she's going to be okay, and she knows she's going to be okay, and I have a sense of freedom back. So it's kind of like I have a great mix of both worlds, and she's eating so much better now. Before, she would not eat anything. Like, after the purees and stuff, like, she started refusing purees around, I think, 10 or 11 months. Like, she just wouldn't eat. She would prefer to just nurse, and now she eats so much. It's amazing how much she eats, and it makes me wonder if that's also why she wasn't sleeping through the night, because she was still hungry, because she wasn't eating, she was just nursing. And as you guys know, breast milk breaks down faster than solids or bottles. So, you know, it's just been amazing. You know, she's learned to eat foods, and it's not just like store-bought. It's like the foods that we eat at dinner. Like, she mowed down on a rotisserie chicken that I made, a roasted chicken, and root vegetables, and, you know, all sorts of things. Like, she eats now. The milk thing took a little bit longer. I know some people are like, oh, you don't have to give a kid cow's milk or whatever. I do. I give her whole lactate milk, because vitamin D is very important, and I don't really want to buy the vitamin D drops anymore. And, you know, the fat in the whole milk is supposed to be important for brain development and eye development and everything like that, and learning. So that took a while. She wasn't a huge fan of the lactate milk or milk in general. So what we did was we would just fill up a little bit of a sippy cup and offer it to her every single meal. And now, actually, in the last 2 days, she started to really enjoy lactate milk. So she has about 1.5 sippy cups a day, because I do still nurse her in the morning and at the night. And then we offer her water throughout the day and healthy snacks. So now that she's eating regular solids, I really think that's helped her sleep and helped her. She's a lot happier too. It's so weird. She's like not whiny as much. Like, it's amazing what strict schedules, you know, and boundaries and all of that stuff does for a kid. So I've rambled on for too long, but I hope you get the gist of this video. Again, I am not suggesting anybody go ahead and wean their kids at 12 months. I'm not suggesting that you let your kid cry if that's not what you want to do. And I'm not saying that if you know, breastfeed till 2 or 3 or whatever, or do it for, you know, soothing reasons only or whatever. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. This video is just what we're doing, why we did it, and, you know, the benefits that we've seen out of what we've done. Like I said, you know your kid the best, and you know yourself the best, so make your own decisions, because no matter what, like I said, you're doing something wrong. Like, you're never gonna be perfect. You're never gonna do everything right. You're never gonna, like, not damage your kids in some way, shape, or form, and everybody's always gonna have something to tell you about what you're doing wrong. So, I always say that you don't have to live with my kid when they get older. You don't have to face the consequences of our discipline or non-disciplining when, you know, they turn 3 or 4. You don't have to live with them. So don't give me your insights. Like, I have to live with my decisions, and I'm still paying for the ones that we made with Wyatt and his sleeping, and it's been miserable. So if somebody gives you crap or is trying to tell you that you're not doing something right, or maybe saying that you're, you know, spoiling or doing this or doing that, you know, as long as you're happy and you know that you're the one who's going to have to deal with them later on in life and they're not, like, ignore them. It does not matter. Do what makes you and your family work, because that's what's the most important, right? So I'm going to let you guys go because this is a super long video, and if you're interested in seeing Kai's full schedule or reading a little bit more, because I probably didn't say something right and I probably said something wrong, because when you're like me and you talk so much, you're bound to say something that's not right, you know? Check out my blog post. It's linked underneath here, and I will talk to you guys all later in my next video. I'm actually working on my do-it-yourself roasted chicken and root vegetable video that I did last week, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty terrible, but I'm still gonna post it. So look out for that, and I'll talk to you guys all later. Bye.